Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala al-falah. Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. So today, my brothers and sisters, I'd like to continue with our topic about the current state of the Muslim Ummah worldwide. So a question that I have seen being repeated time and time again, be it in masajid, being among social circles, even in the news, the Muslim news. There are 2 billion Muslims. How are we not able to do this? There are over 2 billion Muslims worldwide. How are we not able to achieve that? There are 2 billion Muslims worldwide. How are we not able to bring a single loaf of bread to our oppressed brothers and sisters? To provide any aid to oppressed brothers and sisters? Whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in East Turkestan or Uyghur brothers and sisters and elsewhere. And I'm sure we've all heard this before. The number 2 billion of us, there's so many of us, how are we so powerless? And I'm not going to get into the political aspect of it. I'm not going to talk about the historical aspect from the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the colonialism and how everyone in power can directly be attributed back to World War I and the British strategy of divide and conquer. We don't need to go into those details. There's something so much more simple. And this reminds me of a hadith where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يوشك الأمم أن تداعى عليكم كما تداعى الأكلة إلى قصعتها. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, soon the nations will be summoned to you just like one is invited to a feast. Like a pack of wolves attacking a bunch of sheep. Everyone is trying to take a piece of you. So someone said, قال قائل فقال قائل ومن قلة نحن يومئذ. For the Sahaba, the very first thing that crossed their mind is, are we that few? If we're that weak, we must be so few that everyone's able to do whatever they want with us. What did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ say? قال بل أنتم يومئذ كثير ولكنكم غثاء كغثاء السيل. He said, you will be many on that day. Millions, billions, and we can all agree this is very relevant to today. We are what? 2 billion. They'll say Ummah al-Milyar. We're in the billions as a Muslim Ummah. But what are we like? كغثاء السيل. Almost like the foam you see on top of the water, on top of the ocean. There's a lot of it, but it has no power. It has no control. The waves take it left, it goes left. The waves take it right, it goes right. And it has no power over anything. Number is irrelevant at that point. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ continues and he says, وَلَيَنْزَعَنَّ اللَّهُ مِنْ صُدُورِ عَدُوِّكُمْ الْمَهَابَةَ. And Allah will take this, either what we would say al-heba, or the esteem, from you and out of the heart of your enemies. They no longer care about you. They no longer fear anything from you. They no longer see you as anything worthy. That heba is gone from their hearts. They're not afraid of you. They don't hold anything accountable for you. You are weightless in front of them. And that is essentially the state of our ummah today. We are weightless in front of other nations, or what would be called the modern day superpowers. And then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ continues, and he says, وَلَيَحْذِفَنَّ اللَّهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمُ الْوَهْنِ. And Allah will put in the hearts of the Muslims al-wahn. So the companions asked, what is al-wahn, O Messenger of Allah? What is this wahn that's going to be in our hearts? What's this wahn that's causing us to be weak? That's causing us to fall behind? That's removing the esteem from us. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, al-wahn is hubb al-dunya wa karahiyat al-maut. It is the love for this dunya and hating death. The hatred of death. And it's not the hatred of death whereby you're worried about your akhirah. It's not the hatred of death whereby you're worried, whereby you haven't done enough good deeds and you're constantly acting in good deeds and you're constantly worshiping and you're constantly doing things for the sake of Allah and you just want to live longer so you can do more. No. It's love for this dunya. Actually being attached to the dunya. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in the Quran time and time again. But one of the simplest verses that we all know and recite, especially during Ramadan, بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا. Not just بل تحبون. You don't just love this dunya. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا. This extreme level of love and attachment for the dunya. But the akhirah is khayrun wa abqa. The akhirah is better and it is everlasting. So that is the first hadith that comes to mind when it comes to why are we the way we are. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of us, including myself, we all have wahn in our hearts. The vast majority of the things we do are for this dunya. And the akhirah is not even on our minds unless we come to Jum'ah prayer, unless we're at the masjid and someone reminds us. So that wahn, that love for this dunya, that hate for death, is one of the main reasons that the ummah is why we are in the state we are today. And then this reminds us of a saying by Khalid ibn al-Walid. And I'm sure everyone here knows who Khalid ibn al-Walid is. Sayfullah, the sword of Allah. The military general who we constantly hear about, undefeated in battle, military genius. Till this day, they will study his strategies, defeating the Romans and the Persians. Now just compare where we are today, where we have our Palestinian brothers and sisters in Gaza, under the world's largest concentration camp, in the world's largest open-air prison, where we have countless Muslim majority countries surrounding them, and we can't even give them a loaf of bread because of the weakness that the ummah is in. Compare this to the letter sent by Khalid ibn al-Walid to Persia, to the rulers of Persia. And who was Persia back then? They were the superpower back in the day. The Romans and the Persians, or the Byzantines and the Persians, were the superpower of that time. And what was the letter that Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu sent to them? He said to the rulers of Persia, to Faris, Aslim, taslim. Accept Islam, you'll be left in peace. Wa imma al-jizya, or we don't need to have battles, we don't need to invade, we don't need to battle each other on the battlefield, we don't need war, but pay the jizya, the tribute, and we will protect you. And if you reject those two, what's the third option? Wa imma al-harb. You don't want to become Muslim? All right. You don't want to join us and pay the jizya and we'll protect you? Okay. Then there's harb. Then we'll go to battle. But if we go to battle, what happens? فَوَاللَّهِ جِئْتُكُمْ بِرِجَالٍ. I will come to you with men يُحِبُّونَ الْمَوْتِ كَمَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْتُمْ الْحَيَاةِ. I will come to you to battle with men who love what? Love the dunya? Men who love the riches of the dunya? Men who want the bounty and the booty of war? Men who love al-maut, death. كَمَا أَنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ الْحَيَاةِ. Just as you love life. Those men have wahin in their hearts. Those men love dunya more than the akhirah. Imagine the world superpower getting a message like that by a people who were nearly unheard of decades ago. This was the state of the Ummah. And it's reported that Kisra, the ruler of Persia, sent a letter to their allies in China, and they said, we need your support in this war. And the letter that was returned was, Ya Kisra, لا قوة لي بقوم لو أرادوا خلع الجبال من أماكنها لخلعوها. The allies in China said, what power can we give you? What support can we give you in front of a people? If they wanted to rip the mountains out of their place, they would rip them out. That was the state of the Muslim Ummah. They did not have wahin in their hearts the way we do today. And then another example from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. And we all know who Umar is, al-Faruq, the second Khalifa radiallahu anhu. And we all know during his time the Muslims, the regions, the empire expanded, the Khilafah expanded beyond anything imaginable for the Muslims at that time. And after one of the battles, a messenger came to Umar radiallahu anhu, and he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we won. We started the battle, we laid siege to the castle or whatnot, and we have given victory. So Umar radiallahu anhu, if any of us have heard this news, oh, we won a battle, we'd be like, yeah, that's amazing, let's party. Azuma, we're going to have a feast at my house. Umar radiallahu anhu said, okay, when did the battle start? And they said, around Duha time. He said, when did it end? And they said, before Maghrib. So it was less than a day. From around Fajr till Maghrib. Like, that's amazing. And Umar radiallahu anhu started to cry. Or rather started to weep until his beard became wet. And we all know how big their beards were, radiallahu anhum. And his entire beard became wet from his tears. So the messenger is confused, astonished. Like, these aren't tears of joy. I just told you we won. And you're crying out of sadness? And what did Umar radiallahu anhu say? He said, Wallah, inna al-batil la yasmud amama al-haq طوال هذا الوقت إلا بذنب أنتم اقترفتموه أو ذنب أنا اقترفته. Which essentially, or أذنبته أو ذنب أنا أذنبته. Which means the batil, the falsehood, cannot stand in front of the truth that long, all the way from Duha till Maghrib, except with sins that you have committed or sins that I have committed. Imagine that. He didn't say, what weapons did you use? He didn't say, what military strategy did you use? Immediately. He said, if it took that long, then either you are committing sins or I have committed sins that have delayed our victory. And then Umar radiallahu anhu continued and he said, نحن أمة لا تنتصر بالعدة والعتاد. We are not a nation that is granted victory through its preparation and military and technology. That is not our sole path to victory. That does not determine our victory. ولكن بقلة ذنوبنا وكثرة ذنوب الأعداء. The way we are granted victory is by having less sins than our enemies. فإذا تساوت الذنوب. Once the sins are equal, we're committing as many sins, if not more, than our enemies, what happens? غلبونا بالعدة والعتاد. Then they will defeat us with their military might and technology. So that is also something very relevant to today. If we're talking with anyone, especially when I talk with my Pakistani brothers or my Indian brothers, and they'll talk about how Pakistan has nuclear weapons, India has nuclear weapons, nuclear superpower, Iran's developing nuclear weapons, military superpower this and that. But we don't really take a step back and remember, yes, it's important to try to be the best in science, in technology, in advancements. The Muslims led the world in scientific advancements in medicine, yes. But is that why they were given victory? Is that why Allah gave them izzah? Is that why they became some of the largest and most successful empires in the world? Or did they do all of that and achieve all of that because of Islam? And Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu said, نحن قوم أعزنا الله بالإسلام. We are a people Allah has given izzah with Islam. We have been honored with Islam. So the moment we remove Islam from our lives, the moment Islam is not present in our everyday lives, what happens? فَمَهْمَا ابْتَغَيْنَا الْعِزَّةَ فِي غَيْرِهِ أَذَلَّنَا اللَّهُ. That's when we become humiliated. And that is the case of the Muslim Ummah today. Unfortunately, we do not have Islam in every aspect of our lives. We are more infatuated with this dunya. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Allah saying, in fact, indeed, you are infatuated with this world. And we forget about the akhirah. And that is something we need to remember. If we ever want to rise as an ummah, yes, it's important in terms of military technology, it's important in terms of scientific advancements, yes. But it all starts with changing ourselves. And it all starts with returning to Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah says, indeed Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And to conclude, there was an imam in the United States who said, when everything was happening in Palestine, the onslaught on Palestine, everyone's saying, we need to free Palestine. And he said, historically, when has Jerusalem ever been freed under the Muslims without freeing the other Muslim lands? He said, first, free Damascus, free Damascus, free Baghdad, free Mecca and Medina, and then free Jerusalem. In other words, return to Islam. Allah will give you izzah, and then the Muslims and the Muslim Ummah will rise. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت، وقنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت، فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك، إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت، تباركت ربنا وتعاليت. اللهم من كان محسنا فزد في إحسانه، ومن كان مسيئا فاغفر له سيئاته. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات وقاضي الحاجات يا رب العالمين. اللهم اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. أقامت الصلاة أقامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. And if everyone can just move forward as much as you can, even if there's no carpet, no prayer mat, please move forward so we can make some space for our brothers in the back.
Do the line.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.